Yo, it's Cass and Chris. We got you in the mix. Yeah. We say goodbye to the gloominess and the rain. Bright-eyed pupils when we peep the waves. Until we get sipping our local IPA. Welcome to the city built for leisure and play. Cause we're living.
My friends, another edition of the Livin in San Diego podcast. I'm going to go with episode 235, but Cassie said we're rebranding and we're doing the Livin in San Diego. So maybe it's like 9?
Oh, is it 9 already?
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, the rebrand. The other one was North County Now. So, but we got a guest on today. We're going to get to him. He's sitting off to my right. This is the first time we've had in-guest studio in quite a while. We had a few on the previous episode. Who do we have on? Brian. We had on
Andy.
I just looked at I was looking up notes from the past. I think, did we have my brother Joe on at some point? It's all Joey podcast.
I think so. Makes sense.
Maybe that was like during a pandemic time.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been a Zoom style.
Yep.
Remember we had the party one too? That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But
where people just jumped on and we did Zoom party.
Yeah, we had a Zoom party podcast.
Nice.
It was awesome. I had a good time. But our guest today, we got a story to tell. He's living in Encinitas, but hiking, getting out there. And it's so he told me about our sons were in the same kindergarten class together, playing soccer. And I think the first time he had just gotten back from this trip and he had told me about this story, hiking, backpacking, out in the wild. And he lived to tell the tale. So we'll get into all that. But it was a pretty fun story. He said he's tired of telling it, but we're going to make him do it one more time. And
then he can retire it.
And then he can retire it. He can point people to this podcast and go check it out. So anyways, we got Shane Fellows on today. We're going to dive into his backstory. Photographer, property manager, hiker, camper, yoga still?
Yeah.
Yoga, all the above. So we're going to get into his backstory a little bit as well and really dive into it. But first things first, the Livin in San Diego podcast, we always like to give you guys something new, fresh, events, whatever, something else around town. Today, we're giving it to Shane, and he thought of it. I put him on the spot right before he hopped on about something new or, a new place. But what do you have today, Shane?
Yeah. So my daughter plays competitive volleyball. She plays for Coast down in Carmel Valley.
Oh, cool.
And so, they just won the SCVA championship this past weekend.
Wow.
First place out of 335 teams.
Holy.
So, wow.
Wow. That's
this is
incredible.
a slightly proud dad.
Yeah, dude.
That's rad.
Yeah. So anyway, we're like down there at Coast, usually 3 days a week and hanging out for about 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other dads suggested, oh, hey, we should go across the street and grab a beer at the taco place. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's a taco place across the street? So
This changes everything.
Yeah, walking distance.
Yes, I will.
Exactly. So we went over there and it's a place called Craft Taco and it's in Carmel Valley. I think,
wow.
yeah, you just Google it or whatever.
Craft
but
Taco?
I guess it used to, there's a brewery right there that has outdoor seating and everything. And they used to have a taco truck there. And it got popular enough, they got enough business that they, leased one of the spots right next to the brewery and opened up shop. And they have a really good happy hour. I was over there yesterday, and we had what is it? It's like pulled pork fries, kind of like carne asada fries, but it's just like so
sounds
good.
legit.
Yeah. And then I think they have $2 tecates for.
Ooh, you can't find that anywhere.
I'm like, are you serious?
It's like practically
Like
give. I don't know
just
if you
buying
get
at the grocery store.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably even more at the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
a deal, dude. They're losing money on that one, but
yeah, I was over there with my son Kaleo, and we had those fries and a quesadilla, and had a one tecate, and then it was delicious.
and
How do you just drink
Definitely.
one?
Yeah.
I know. Well, I got to drive the kids
That's right,
home
that's
after
right.
practice. So.
I don't think there's much alcohol in a Tecate. Anyway.
Yeah,
No,
it's like sparkly water,
pretty hydrating. Those
especially
things.
with the lime.
Yeah, that's right.
And is the brewery right next door to that still?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I
what's do you
actually
remember
haven't
the
gone
brewery?
over to that yet.
Dude, what's the name of the brewery down there? Do we
don't
know?
know the name.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Cassie will
I'll
find
Google
out
it.
for us. He's gonna look it up. But Cassie, have you been to the Pablos when they switched over to
Pavlos Tacos?
what was it before?
Rico's.
Oh,
Yeah, a bunch of times.
dude,
Yeah.
I
Is it
worked
the
at
same?
Rico's in high school.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Do you know Justin?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And Rita, I think was his mom, and what was Chris? Was the
Yeah, was the owner.
He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
here. He was the Encinitan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I probably saw you there at some point.
Yeah, probably served you a burrito.
That's
there.
right. I know. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
I worked at the cash register, and we just we're just those like young stupid high schoolers
That's rad.
that they'd hire.
So Pablos, did he used to work there? He was like
Yeah.
running the place basically, right?
Yeah, he worked there for a really long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I just remember him kind of running things in the background. Like
Yeah.
he would like bring in supplies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
and, I don't know.
I think he was like kind of manager.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's what it is.
Did he basically keep the whole menu? I haven't been in there
It's
since
exactly
it
the
switched.
same.
It just kept everything the same.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So
All
it's
the
just
food tastes the
Pablos.
same. Salsa's the same, which is the key.
Like something like 15 years ago, they redid the lobby area, like the seating and stuff. But it's like,
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all pretty much
Yeah.
the same.
My wife and her family were on. Do you remember the photos that used to be like on the tables
Uh-huh,
back
yeah.
in the day? My wife's
Oh, okay.
family when they were
Awesome.
tiny, when they were like, I think my wife was probably like 8 in the photo.
Did they still have that photo booth in there? I know at one point they had like a
No,
photo
that's
booth
gone.
where I don't know where it went. I don't think it printed out photos, but
no, that's definitely long
all
gone.
right, good to know. So that's where you worked. Did you grow up here?
Well, from middle school on. Yeah,
Okay.
I went to Degano over here and
Okay.
then LCC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me
So I
too.
know you had some overlap with here. Where'd you originally move from?
From Northern California, Ukiah, like north of San Francisco.
How far north is that? That sounds familiar.
Hour and a half, 2 hours, I think.
Okay. And then came down here to middle school.
Yeah.
Got the Degano going on. LCC. What year were you?
Graduated 99.
Okay.
So
You
what-
were
2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
we were there.
99. That
Same
was
time.
Yeah, we were there same
That's
time.
awesome.
that was probably like one of the first classes then, right?
Yeah, I think so.
99-ish?
They kept us over at Degano for an extra year. So we did 9th grade at Degano
okay.
and then 10th, 11th, and 12th
Oh, cool.
at LCC.
You got to figure out which Alexander brother
Oh yeah.
was 99. I think it might have been Brian.
Yeah,
know
I think
Brian
that- I think it was-
Alexander?
I think it was
Sounds
right.
familiar. Yeah.
Lacrosse player.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I can.
I'd
never remember
recognize
which
his
one.
face probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Great head of hair.
Great head of hair.
Didn't we all have that?
Yeah, we all had it then. Yeah, unfortunately, some of us lost it.
So then I mean you haven't left since. I mean okay. So then you came here, went Ukiah down to Encinitas. Is that where you're living at the time? Obviously, if you were going to school here.
Yeah,
Carlsbad.
yeah. I remember just like moving here, and I think we moved here in the summertime, and just being like we went down to Moonlight Beach, brought my skateboard. I'm like, are you kidding me? People live like this? You know, like,
What is this?
this is like what
place?
you see in the movies, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, that's why I've loved this town ever since then.
And
Yeah.
then you from here, I read. So go to if you guys need some photography. What is it? ShaneFellowsPhotography.com.
Just ShaneFellows.com.
ShaneFellows.com. You don't even need the photography. Shane Fellows. You got. I looked up Chris Erickson a long time ago. It was already taken, like back in the early days of
yeah.
the internet. Like, yeah, that was way gone.
Yeah, I
It was some
remember
accountant or
having to
something.
get like when Gmail accounts were everybody was signing up for them. I had to like add my middle initial because all the
Yeah.
Shane fellows were already.
taken.
Sorry, but you got the URL. So
Yeah, I got
that's
that.
solid.
Better.
Yeah.
But you go there and read us about. But in there, I was checking it out too. You went to college in Colorado,
Yep. See you, Boulder.
Boulder.
Go
Okay.
Buffs.
How is Boulder? I've heard good things.
Oh man, Boulder is
Heard it's sick.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool town.
Does it compare to anything around San Diego? Like, I mean, not really, because obviously it's a mountain town. But
You know what's funny is like the lifestyle and the vibe there is very similar to like Encinitas, Leucadia, Cardiff, that same everybody's, focused on, healthy living, being really active outdoors. Obviously there people are more like hiking, mountain
Skiing.
biking, rock climbing,
Yeah.
skiing, snowboarding, all that kind of stuff. Whereas here people skate, surf, yoga, like tons of people do yoga there too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a cool town. I mean, it's just so picturesque when you're driving up from 36, like from Denver. I remember when the first time I went and visited there, like we were driving up over the hill and like the sun was setting behind the Flatirons and like the whole town's like down below there. And you got the Rocky Mountains with the sun like setting over it. And it's just like, seriously, this exists, it's a cool place.
That's rad.
Yeah.
living in all the cool places, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've lucked out for sure.
The is it? I know it's not strictly, but is it like size of college? Is it pretty big college? Is it like mostly college town? You got like do you have dorms?
Yeah.
You have kind of like, like San Diego State is where I went. So
Yeah, so when I lived there, it was like primarily a college town, and now I think it's Google and Facebook and like some big companies
got some
have
cash coming
definitely
in.
set up some headquarters there. So I think the last time I went back was 2 falls ago, and it's really blown up. But then it's kind of cool because it's a lot like Encinitas, where it's still kept the same kind of culture, even though it's like pretty big now.
yeah, you got some money coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, back in the day, yeah, as with anything, they find out about these little ski towns and stuff, and money comes in, they blow up. I don't know. I guess everywhere kind of does that same thing. I'm sure the hiking, all that kind of stuff is excellent up there.
Yeah, so that's where I think I probably took my first backpacking trip here in Southern California, but then shortly after that moved out to Colorado and just did a bunch of backpacking out there. So that's when I really got into hiking and camping and backpacking, and it's just so, I mean, especially living in Boulder, you can walk out of your front door and they have trails set up throughout the whole city they are all interconnected, so you can avoid being on a road for the most part anywhere you want to go, on bike paths everywhere. It's really cool. And then those link up to the hiking trails, and then you can just go out into the mountains from there. And
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, I was just
You
thinking,
need that, Chris.
I do. I mean, the closest thing I found is a Livin, where there's a bunch of trails out there, a bunch of horse trails connecting. That's where I'll go run out there. Do you go run out there or check that out?
I've been out there.
Yeah, and
hiking,
it's just
trail running.
Yeah, they have some right along the roads and stuff, but yeah, they have. I mean, you don't have to kind of like going through these little neighborhoods and you pop out here, and then I found a lot of the little trailheads and stuff, but there's so many more just connecting. You could go out to, I mean, where you live, it even connects Elfin Forest and San Alejo. There's a few trails that go back that way, but it's obviously nothing like that where I'm sure that the terrain's different, the trees, it's just a different feel.
It is. Yeah.
You're in a
I
mountain.
mean, it's just so beautiful there. Like Colorado is just an awesome place in general. But all the hiking trails out of Boulder are awesome. There's Chautauqua Park, which is where the Flatirons are, and it's cool because they really prioritize all the open space, obviously, and they take really good care of that park in particular because it's the most heavily trafficked. But if you just Google Boulder, Colorado, the Flatirons will show up, tons and tons of pictures. It's just really cool, and you can actually rock climb on these like huge rock slabs that like jut up into the air. And or you can hike on hiking trails that go up and behind them. And
that's right.
Yeah. So it's.
Are you hooking in for like it's at that kind of actual mountain, like a mountain climbing kind of thing?
Yeah. And I think when I was there, I remember it was maybe like once a year or so somebody would fall and like get pretty injured out there. But
yeah, I'm sure that. I mean, I can see that happening at any side or sort of mountain, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I guess you just hear about it more because like right in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
Then you mentioned
like that.
hiking, camping, and backpacking.
And snowboarding.
What's the difference between all of those three? I know snowboarding, but what's the difference between a hike and backpacking?
So, backpacking is a hike with everything you take camping on your back.
On your back.
Which has become my favorite way to camp, actually, these days. Mostly in California, it's so hard to get a reservation these days for a campground. To go car camping. But so it's just easier to get a backcountry permit and go out and be away from everybody else.
How does that work? Okay, so like, you have the campgrounds, you have Cuyamaca, you have like the state parks, you have all these little spots where you go camping, right? Where, like you said, you're getting a site, you have the beaches over here. But you find a trail. We'll go over some of the trails. I want to hear some of them that you've gone on kind of around here before we get into the one that you survived. But okay, so can you just go out on anywhere, like what's a BLM land, anything like that? Or you said you need a permit for specifically camping in those spots?
BLM land you don't need any reservations.
Nothing,
for that.
you
It's
just show up.
But that's all primitive camping. For the most part, you can just pick a spot, pull up and park. And we did that during COVID when they had all the campgrounds closed. Like it works out okay.
Is there actual like trails going up, like a road going up to there, or it
depends
I'm gonna
on
go. Hey, here's BL, like right off the highway or whatever.
Yeah, it depends on where you're going. Like we went up to Mount Laguna, and Laguna campground's
Yeah.
awesome, but they had it all shut down. And so there's some BLM land that's a little bit south of there. And you have to off-road a little bit, and you definitely don't want to drive out in like a Honda Civic or whatever.
Chris's
No,
Prius.
no Prius.
But yeah, and then you kind of just find a spot, pull up and park, and you're just in the forest,
You're in God's country.
Yeah, you got to bring a shovel and dig a hole when you have to go to the bathroom.
See, that's the kind of camping I tell my wife, I tell Julie, I love camping, but I'm more of like the campsites, right? Where you do have a bathroom, you're not digging holes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've never done that. I do want to go on one of the trips with you, but
Yeah.
It's kind of those backpacking, you park, you're in however many miles, but kind of around here, hiking, camping, where some spots that you're digging. You mentioned Mount Laguna, but the BLM land out there, anywhere else that you guys like have your go-to spot?
Yeah, I mean, Mount Laguna for like bringing the kids, it's an hour away, so easy. Like Cuyamaca up there as well. We've taken the kids over to that lake that's right there. I think that's Lake Cuyamaca.
Lake Cuyamaca, yeah.
Caught some fish there. That's all like super accessible, an hour away, especially if you have like toddlers or younger kids. Take them camping there on their first trip, and then
easy.
if like they totally melt down and you're like, man, screw this, let's head
You
home.
can shoot
You
home.
can still just throw everything in the car and
Yeah.
be home in time for bed still, so it's great up there, and it snows up there, so you can take the kids with sleds up there. That's awesome. Then from there, I would say up in the Big Bear area is next where I'd go, or my parents live up in Idlewild, which is awesome up there.
Camp up
Humber
there.
Park and all that. There's some really good hiking trails up there. Can't remember what that peak is called, like Grant or
Doesn't that lead
know.
up to, like, isn't there from Idlewild, isn't there a trail that goes up to
San Jacinto, like the backside.
Yeah,
of it.
San
Palm
Jacinto,
Springs
that's
and
what it
stuff up
is.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those trails I did at some point when my dad and my brother completely hungover.
Oh yeah.
And the guy, maybe that was Big Bear. No, I think it was Big Bear. Never mind. Probably still completely hungover. But Big Bear, I think it said 5 miles at the base of the trail, and it's just a switchback all the way up to the top of the mountain on the north side of the Big Bear crater.
Oh, okay.
And we get to the top. We feel like every turn we're like, oh, this has got to be the end. Every turn we get to the top, and there's a guy that does it like 3 times a week. Like it's his go-to trail. He's like, did it feel longer than 5 miles? And we're like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's closer to 7.5.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
whoopsie?
I think round trip
signs are
7.5.
false.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a little tricked on that one.
Yeah, that always
beautiful,
amazes
though.
me when I'm like doing a long hike or something, and this trail runner just like buzzes by
Yeah.
me. I'm like, I'm on a 6-day backpacking trip, and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna run out and back today.
I'll be
It's-
back.
You're insane.
Just taking a photo real quick, so don't mind me.
See, Chris likes being
to
in
prove
front
I
of
was
it.
here.
Nobody will believe it.
Yeah, so Big Bear, Idlewild, that we did camp there. There's like a little campground kind of
Right in
with it
town.
right in town. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
you could walk to the bars and the restaurants and all that stuff. So it's
But you could also walk to the trailheads too, which is cool. Or a
Yeah.
couple of the trailheads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it, but last time we went up and visited with the kids and hung out with my parents, there are actually trails from their house that you can take through the neighborhoods and stuff, and mostly avoid the roads
Oh, that's rad.
to get down to town and back. And it's cool. Like, and they know a lot of people in the town, so along the way we're like saying hi to their neighbors. And, it's a cool
rad.
experience. Yeah.
that was the only time that I got a tick. I remember I got home. It's like,
Oh.
ooh, what is that? Pulled it off. I don't have Lyme disease. Luckily, you have to go get tested.
bueno.
But yeah,
Oh, I used to get ticks all the time as a kid.
I know that's what I never knew. Like I remember my cousins lived up in Sacramento or Auburn area up there, just outdoors running through.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing stories about ticks, and their mom would just get
Lighter.
something hot,
Yeah.
burn it out. Never heard anything about Lyme disease or getting tested or anything
No.
like that. I don't know.
I never
Is
got
it-
tested.
Yeah.
I might have Lyme disease. Who knows?
Who knows?
But yeah, in the canyons, like in the Livin,
oh yeah, I'm
growing
sure
up,
all over there.
my mom would do tick checks when we got back.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I remember
Not the
going
fun
out and
part of
being
it.
out in the fields, and then like parents being like, take
Yeah.
all your clothes off
Yeah.
before you get
yeah,
back.
that's right.
See, my folks
back in
never
the
did
house.
that. Every time we went camping, I never even now Julie she's from the East Coast. She'll like check the boys and that kind of thing, when we get it from outdoors or whatever. But
Julie, no.
yeah. You guys got any ticks? No ticks. All right, we're good to
Don't
go.
bring it to that.
Yeah, no ticks here. All right, Big Bear. Have you been up to? So we went Palomar. There's some good hikes up there. Tahoe. You go hiking up there
I
at all?
haven't done a lot of hikes up in Tahoe at
No.
all. No. Joshua Tree
Mm-hmm.
obviously is awesome. Where else? And up along the coast too. There are a lot of really good campgrounds up along the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Like
All the way up through Big Sur.
yeah,
and-
Big Sur in
yeah.
that whole area. Is that still shut down? I know that was like I know
think
they
it
had the
opened back
highways
up.
like I mean like once a year.
It's
they
shut down
probably get
every, yeah, that's what it is.
Some sort
And
of
sometimes it gets
landslide or-
shut down for like 2 years,
Yeah.
but I think it's open now.
Yeah, right up there we did a little camping. It's Tree Bones is the name of the place. Right kind of in the middle of Big Sur. So you're halfway between the south and civilization, but it was at the campsite. It was one of the best sushi bars we've ever been to. They have like the sushi
awesome.
bar at the place, and so like they have glamping sites. They had yurts. We just had a tent because we were on a road trip, but right at the top, it's probably like a normal size, 10-seater kind of a sushi bar, and all the people go there. There's people from that town about 30 minutes away who would drive over there just for that sushi place.
That's
It's pretty cool. Cool environment.
Awesome.
Obviously, you're outside, not outside, but you're in Big Sur. It's dark out. You're camping. Oh, let's go grab some sushi. So
That's perfect.
it was awesome.
I don't
But
think
Yeah,
I've ever
that
had
sounds
sushi
amazing.
camping.
yeah, that was my only time, but it was pretty rad. Okay, so hiking, backpacking, all that kind of stuff. You started doing that out in Boulder a little bit.
Yeah, and
then
then
kinda
once I came back here, yeah. That reminded me of the sushi place though up there. That reminds me of Big Bear. Have you guys been to Tropicali up there?
No.
Okay, next time you go, you have to go because
Cali.
you wouldn't expect it in Big Bear of all places, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like literally the best Hawaiian food
Oh, really?
I've
we were just talking
ever
about
had on the mainland, and yeah, it's really good. It's another one of those
What is
places.
it? Tropicali?
Tropicali.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like right downtown Big Bear, kind of like on the more western side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the first time I went there was like on a snowboarding trip up there, and I think they had just like one of those kind of smaller, almost like flower stands, sort of size, coffee stand sort of places.
Yeah.
And there was like two guys working there, and the owner was there, just totally super outgoing guy, kind of hilarious. They like they ask you your name, and then they like start cracking jokes with you and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is a pretty cool vibe. And then they bring the food out. I'm like, oh, this is legit.
Oh, that's rad.
So yeah. Anyway,
Is it like pokey and stuff, or like what kind
yeah,
of
they
what
do
kind of food?
everything, like
Okay.
plate lunch, like pokey.
Interesting. In Big Bear. That's where I'm gonna have to go for my Hawaiian fix, man. There's
Yeah.
a new place opening right in Encinitas. Have you seen that one? Breakers.
No.
Over by Scripps, right across the road. It used to be called Schooners. It used to be like a little.
Okay.
It's been a bunch of things.
Yeah, it used to.
That building.
Since I've been up here, I think it was Schooners for most
A
of the
long
time.
time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or at least since we
Used
had
to be
the
a
kids.
pizza
'cause I
place
remember
before that.
we went to like Lamaze classes and then would go have a beer, or she wouldn't have a beer. I'd have a beer over there.
You're like, I need a beer after this.
Too much breathing.
I think that's it. They call Lamaze. Isn't that like the baby classes? Yeah, something like that. But
The tour.
the tour, yeah. Anyways, we did that. But anyways, you be the judge. I only know one spot down in PB. We were talking about it last weekend. Leilani's. It's right off Cass Street, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. It's my favorite Hawaiian spot because it was a block from our house when we lived down there. And hungover mornings, you walk up there,
Oh,
get a
perfect.
big, just like I think sausage, mac salad, big old egg on the nice greasy. Way to go.
Yep.
So hopefully this place
Nice
is like that
recovery
too. But
spot,
yeah,
yeah.
great recovery spot. All right. So you've been doing that. You going hiking, and then you were telling me about the story. Let's start getting into that, and then we'll go into a few different directions about one. Or before we get into, is there any other hiking stories that you haven't told me?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
'Cause that one's pretty interesting.
Well, on that same trip that I was going to mention to you, like I'll just include it in part of the
Okay,
story. Never
just
mind.
include it. Okay, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
We'll just do that.
But yeah, it's I guess maybe a segue into it would be I hadn't really been going backpacking a whole lot for like a few years after having the kids and like it's hard to get out into the mountains for multiple days by yourself when you have kids,
It's hard to hop out in the ocean for like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I met some friends that live here in Encinitas, surfing, and one of them in particular, this guy Mark, awesome guy. We kind of just like hit it off and started hanging out quite a bit, and then realized that we had like a lot of shared interests, and one of them was backpacking. And this guy's gone like all over the place, all over the world. He did like the Annapurna circuit and like, you know, he's just like total adventurous guy, you know.
What's the Annapurna circuit?
It's I believe it's in, isn't it in Tibet?
It sounds familiar.
It's like this huge hike that you do. You're basically going around to like all the tallest peaks in this, or not tallest, but
through all the little peaks are out there.
Yeah, it's like a 50-mile round trip hike or something like that.
Sounds intense.
Yeah.
It has the flags right off the bat. That's probably Tibet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Although it doesn't say
my geography knowledge is exactly.
And it's one word. Oh, Nepal.
Nepal. Yeah.
So, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we'd hang out a lot, surf, like started sailing a lot together, and you know, then we're like, man, we got to plan a backpacking trip one of these days, and then it finally ended up working out that I guess I should just tell the story. Is that
Yeah.
I like the lead up. Yeah. No.
Okay,
Come up.
sure.
I want to hear like your guys' backstory. If you guys did anything before that, like, yeah.
No, I think we just started doing like local hikes and stuff like that together. And then his cousin Wade, who's also another great guy, he kind of looped him in, and we were like, hey, let's start planning a backpacking trip together. And so we had talked a lot about the Eastern Sierras, and I hadn't really been up there very much, but had talked about how I loved Colorado. And he was like, oh, dude, if you haven't backpacked in the Eastern Sierras and you love the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, you're gonna be blown away. It's just like that, you know. And so I started looking at pictures. I'm like, oh man, yeah, it does really look a lot like a lot of the trails I've been to out in Colorado. And I had almost given up, like on, like, you know, we're in Southern California. There aren't really any mountains down here, you know, and so just kind of, you know, given up on planning trips very much for just because it's so far to get to get to Colorado or whatever. And he was like, no, you got to get up to the Eastern Sierras. You're going to love it. So we started planning a trip. And so basically we planned to do a section of the Kearsarge Lakes Loop. So if you look that up, there's a bunch of different ways you can get to it. We started at the Onion Valley Campground. It's got like a parking lot, and there's a campground at the bottom. And so you can kind of post up there, acclimate, and then work your way up.
So you're already at elevation when you're getting
yeah,
up
I
there?
think it's like 7,000 or 8,000 when you start. I think it's 7,000 when you start, and then you get up to the pass at like 12,000, and then you drop back down a little bit once you're up over that. But yeah, so you're up pretty high. Yeah, so that's part of the story too. So so anyway, we kind of planned this trip, and it was awesome. Mark like knows he had already done this whole loop before, I think twice, and so it pretty much I was able to just be like, you tell me what days to show up, and you know, he got the permits and like did everything, and it was awesome. Didn't have to really worry too much about it. Just coordinated, you know, how much to pack and what gear to pack, and it was cool because when I was in Colorado, I bought all my backpacking gear then, and just from it had been maybe like 8 years or something like that since I had really gone on like a solid backpacking trip, just doing a lot of car camping with the kids and stuff like that.
Yep.
And how much the gear had changed from just
In
8
8
years
years.
ago. It's insane.
Just weight.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So he sent me a website called Lighterpack, lighterpack.com. And I don't recommend going on that if you're getting into backpacking, because once you start typing in all your stuff, you start getting like really obsessed with the weight of every little thing.
Saving an ounce here and there.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a scale, or I actually had a scale, like just a kitchen scale. And I started weighing literally everything that went into my pack down to the half ounce, you know what I mean? And so then you start so then I ended up kind of going through my pack and kind of strategically replacing the heaviest, like most nonsensical things that I had in there.
What are some of the
Anvil.
the heavier things? Yeah, you got a hammer.
Just doing things like I had
Shovel.
a pretty big pot and a big camping stove and just things like that where I could, you know, kind of just trade down to a titanium smaller one that's like ultra lightweight, and just be like, and just doing some things like I used to carry Nalgene bottles, and I'd carry like 4 of them.
Yeah.
You put all those together, you're at like a pound and a half or something like that. Whereas if you go and get smart water bottles, and then they're like less than an ounce of
a lot lighter
a piece.
Yeah.
And they're like pretty durable, and it's kind of cool too. And I switched my water filter. I can't a sleeping bag, like bunch of things. Oh, my pack. The pack I had was this old Gregory pack, which was like bomb proof, so well made. But I think it was like 7 pounds or 8 pounds.
Just for the
like,
pack?
Yeah, just for the pack. So I traded down to like a 2.5 pound pack, which is still
Crazy.
not ultra light at all. Like you can go way lighter than that. But it was like, that's a huge amount of weight that you're saving. Yeah. So anyway, kind of geeked out on the gear for that. And then once we finally got it all figured out and packed up, it turned out like we had the trip plan, had the permits, and my wife Maddie and I, we got invited to a wedding on the Saturday that was going to be the first day of the trip for us all to drive up. And I was like, these are good friends. We can't not go to the wedding, you know, kind of thing. And so I talked to the guys and I was like, you know what, here's what I think I'm going to do is you guys hike in that first day to get acclimated because we're going up to a higher elevation. I'll go to the wedding on Saturday, go home, sleep for a few hours, then drive up and then hike in that same day and meet them where they had set up their camp for the first night. So that's basically what we did is I went to the wedding, stayed later than I should have, drank probably more than I should have.
So I was going to ask,
It's a good start.
Are you going to bed early to get some rest or no? It's a wedding, dude.
The plan was to be home and in bed by like 10:30, 11. I got in bed at like 2.
Swing and a miss.
And then woke up at like, I think it was 5 or 6, and then got in the car, drove up. It's right outside of Bishop, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure it's Bishop. So you drive up, is it 395? Go up straight up to Bishop and then head directly west. And then you're just like zigzagging up to the campground. So I know these guys are like waiting for me and I'm like, I gotta hurry. So I drive up and I park and I just throw my pack on and hike in. And it's about 3 miles to Flower Lake, which is where they kind of set up. And I got up there and met up with them. And it worked out great because they were just chilling in their hammocks, reading when I got there and just enjoying, you know, all the sounds of nature and just relaxing, like kind of dropping in, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was cool because I got there, we relaxed and hung out for a couple hours. And then we decided to hike up. I think we stayed that night, actually, that first night there again. So they stayed 2 nights there. And then the next morning, the plan was to just hike up over the pass, which is about 12,000 feet, and then drop down to the Kearsarge Lakes, which is awesome location, where there's just this kind of spine of pinnacles called the Kearsarge Pinnacles. And it's like that's the backdrop behind the lake that you can like set up your camp at, you know?
Sick.
So it's just so pretty up there. And so the plan was to just hike up, set up a base camp, and then just do day hikes. But what you can do is you can kind of through hike the whole Kearsarge Lakes loop, which is like a 23-mile loop. I think where we set up camp was about 7 or 8 miles in. And so from Flower Lake, which is about 3 miles, you go up another 2.5, 3 miles to the pass, and then another 2 or 3 miles down to the other lakes is where we set up camp.
When you're going through there real quick, are you guys moving pretty slow? You're going through elevation, you're going ups and downs. Is it like just pretty mellow, really cruisy hikes?
No. Yeah. So it's pretty steep and it's like switchbacks.
Okay.
And you're at elevation. So
Got it.
you kind of, and then depending on how heavy your pack is, like 30 pounds ish, 25, 30 pounds. you're not hiking like super fast, especially like when you, so that was my problem is I didn't, so the best way to do it is you go up.
Just to not drink at the wedding before.
Yeah, don't drink the night before, get sleep the night before. And then what you do is you take one day or one night, ideally like 24 hours at the base campground.
So your body gets used to it.
So you can acclimate a little. And so that's what those guys were able to do. And I didn't do that. And so I didn't give myself like a full 24 hours before we went up to the higher elevation. And you can do like, if you have liquid IV or, electrolytes and you're really careful, you can and drink a lot of water. You can be okay doing that. And that's what I was trying to do. But then basically we went up over the pass. And then when we dropped back down to our campsite, I started getting a headache, like being really low energy. And it's like all the signs of, elevation sickness. Yeah. But just like, it wasn't really that bad. It was like tolerable. So I was like, yeah, that's all right. It'll wear off. And so we hung out up there for, I think it was 3 days, kind of just had the same campground and did a bunch of day hikes, and it was really cool. And I think it was the second day, Mark and I were like, we had all gotten up, had breakfast, gone for like a little like sunrise hike, come back, and then we jumped in the lake. We're just like laying on this big rock with this, like the rock was all warm and the sun was like making us warm. And it was just great. And I think Wade was back at the campground, and we hear this lady come running up to our campground, like kind of help. And we're
in the
like,
middle of nowhere.
Were there a lot of people
We're like-
there? Like, was this like a spot where you could see another camper from your spot, or no?
I mean, when you're hiking on the trail, you run into
into
people
people,
and you say hi and you chat with them for a couple minutes or whatever. But so, I left kind of an important part of this out is up there. You have to use bear canisters, and everything that you pack in, you have to pack out and like leave no trace. And so that's like a well-known thing to anybody that would hike up there. And it's like written on all the permits. Like you have to be kind of an idiot to miss that,
Yeah. Like bear food.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're basically, and not just that, but like if bears do eat your food, you like that's create like super unsafe for the bear, because once they've eaten that food, then they're like gonna go after it some more. So anyway,
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And so, but they have, what's cool is they have along the trails, like they have bear proof cabinets that you can actually store food in. And I think a section of that is the PCT too. So like a lot of people they have the bear proof cabinets at like the trailheads. So you can actually, if you're hiking the PCT, you can have people drop food in those cabinets for you along your hike. So then you can just drop down, pick up some food, go back up and onto the trail.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, the idea is you have to have a bear proof canister to keep all your food in. And that's what we did. We had, I mean, it's really easy. Just get a Bear Vault from REI or whatever. And it's just like this, it's kind of a pain to have to carry and put in your backpack, especially when you're, exactly how much weight it is.
Adds a bit of weight.
Yeah. But it's like a necessary evil. Right. And, so we're at the campground. This lady comes, running up, and Wade's like, goes and talks to her, and then he starts waving us over. We're like, all right, well, I guess we got to put our shirts on, run over there. We're all barefoot. And the next camp down, which is maybe like 200 yards, 300 yards away or something like that, this group had left and gone for a day hike and left this woman hanging out there. I guess she just wanted to chill at the campground or whatever, or campsite that they set up. And they just left all their food out on the ground.
Here you go.
So of course, there's a bear just rummaging through all their food and eating it all. And she's like, help, I need to get rid of this bear. And we're like, what do you want us to do about it? This is a you problem. But yeah, so then we ran over there, and obviously
Wrestled the
there's like
bear,
the part of us
obviously.
where it's like, this is entertaining. This is part of the
Let's
adventure.
watch the bear finish the food.
Yeah, let's go see what's happening. So we would go over, and we spend about we're trying to scare it, like yell at it, hey bear, like all these kinds of things, and it's just like totally not bothered by us. Like we're trying to act like we're gonna run at it.
Yeah.
But luckily it wasn't like a big, like a huge,
Full-size.
like full size. It's just a smaller kind of juvenile black bear. So it wasn't anything to be afraid of or anything like that.
Yeah, you're still probably a little afraid. We were camping up in Mammoth one time, and just the site literally, like right when you come into town, you see, one off to the left or whatever direction it is. But yeah, right in town. And we were just sitting around the fires, like my pops and my brothers and stuff, and we heard, something going on in the trash can behind us, and I think we, just all our crap. It's, they have bear stuff, but we're sitting there rummaging through, and we turn around, that there's a little black bear, and just kind of digging in. I think we had some, trout that we had caught that day digging in there, so we're hitting pans at it, and it ended up running away. But you could hear later on that the other people within the campsite were, the mama bear was around too.
Oh, yeah.
So we're like, glad he kind of left ours. But yeah, and then the next day we saw another one across the road. But that was my only bear incidents, because it was basically a buffet for him. It was just a trash can full of stuff. We're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, for the most part, I think bears just they just care about your food. They don't really care about you too much.
Yeah, they took off right after that. But all right.
But yeah, I actually ran into up in Neoto Wilderness in Colorado on a backpacking trip with some friends that actually they like to go elk bow hunting. And so we'd kind of make it into like a backpacking elk hunting trip. And I was up there, and my friends that I'd gone with were out on like a sunset hike somewhere, and I was hiking by myself, and I came up on a moose and a mother moose and a baby moose. And it like turned and like put its head down at me like it was going to run at me. And I was like, oh man, I got to get out of here.
And those things are big.
Yeah. So I just like hid and like, tried to make myself seem
I think you can climb a tree with a moose.
Oh, really?
I don't think they're climbing trees.
I don't think it'd break that thing down.
Maybe
dude.
that's a problem. I don't know.
Moose do not care.
They don't care.
They will mess you up,
I've seen the videos. It's gnarly.
Yeah. So anyway, so we kind of like made a lot of noise, tried to scare it, threw some rocks near it. One or two of them might have like grazed the bear.
They can care less.
Just like, get out of here, guys.
And then it eventually it would like kind of run 10 feet away and then decide, nah, you're not going to do anything. And they would come back to the food, and we're like,
these guys.
I mean, to be fair, you got some fresh beef jerky right there. That's going to be pretty delicious. So we spent like 20 or 30 minutes trying to scare it off, and we got it to finally go down the hill back
to the
behind.
next campers.
Yeah, maybe to the next, whatever. But we got it to go away enough that it was kind of away from the campsite to give her an opportunity to put all the food away and everything like that. And then as we were coming back after we had scared it away, the rest of the group came back, and we're like, hey, you guys know you need to put all that stuff in canisters, right? And they were like, oh yeah, we thought it would be fine, blah blah blah. We're just like, they just were like not even bothered by the fact that their entire campsite had been taken over by a bear, and we're like,
and they didn't have any food left.
So then we went back to our campsite, and we're all kind of chilling out after our hike, and you could hear the bear came back, and they were like, hey bear, and then
Here's where the food is, guys.
Yeah, sure enough, like 2 hours later, we see them hiking by, because they had to pack up their camp and leave and go to another spot, we're like, oh, cool. Now we're the closest to the
That's
bear.
right. Yeah. We're not eating tonight, guys.
Yeah. But no real issues after that. Like it didn't come over and bother us or anything like that. But then, so the problem after that was, my elevation sickness started getting like progressively worse. And like the next morning I woke up, or the next day, I think, woke up and was just like so bad. I could barely like get up and go to the bathroom, and I just had this like huge headache that just wouldn't go away, and just felt really weak. And the guys were like super cool. They were giving me like their extra liquid IVs and trying to help me out and making sure I'm okay and stuff. And Super cool. And then I think I made it through like that whole next day. And then the day after that, I was just like, man, I was only planning on being up here for like 5 or 6 days, and I'm on like day 4, I think. And I think I'm just going to head back out, you know? And, we had some rain early in the day. So I was just like totally posted up in my tent and just not really doing anything anyway. And I'm like, man, I think I'm just going to hike out and feel better. you know?
Yeah.
And, and I had kind of been waiting for the rain to stop. And by the time that happened, it was, I think like 3 or 4 o'clock. And both of them were like, yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea for to hike out tonight. Maybe just wait for tomorrow. And I was like, man, I really just feel like crap, you know, like I just like kind of saw visions of, I just like hiking to my car and then throwing the thermarest in the back of the car and sleeping there and being like so much more comfortable, you know? And so I kind of had made up my mind at that point, you know? And
how many miles out were you?
So it was like 8 miles, I think 8 or 9 miles, something like that we're out there. And, so I had to hike up to the pass, and then after that, it's like all downhill. And so I was like really weak. So, and just not feeling good. So I was like pretty much struggling just to like put my shoes on, get up, walk, 10, 15 feet down to filter some water. Like it was rough.
You're like, I could do 9 miles, no big deal.
Yeah. So,
but just think of your car as the trophy. You're like,
So what was really cool is they were both like, dude, what are you thinking? You know? And they're like, we're going to help you out, but like, you're kind of being an idiot. But they're like nicely saying that, you know what I mean? Like how
you probably also understood how you felt. Like,
and they were being cool about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And help. And so what they suggested, which was ended up being like really great, is that we take 2 packs, split all my stuff between 2 packs, and they'll carry those 2 packs, and I'll just hike without one up to the pass. They'll hike with me up to the pass, which is like 2.5, 3 miles, which is like, pretty easy for a day hike for those guys. And then put everything in my pack, and then I'll just hike it down on my own, which from, I think the pass, it was probably like 5.5 miles or something like that to the trailhead. So it was cool because, I was still struggling to get, because it's a bunch of switchbacks and you're at elevation to get up to the pass. We get up there, but it just so happened that we got there like right at sunset. So we were all up there, just the 3 of us, nobody in sight for miles and miles and miles, watching the sunset over the, the Eastern Sierras and Kearsarge Pinnacles and stuff. And so we got some cool pictures there of the 3 of us and the views and everything. We got some of my favorite pictures I've ever taken hiking. You know?
Right.
So that was cool.
do you have your camera out there, or did you just bring your phone?
I just brought my phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weight.
But
I was going to say.
No, actually, I think on that trip I probably did have my camera. But when I go backpacking, I actually do bring my nicer camera. But anyway, so from there is about 5.5, 6 miles down to the trailhead. I'm like, oh, it's all downhill. I think I can do this, And when I was out in Colorado, I used to hike at night all the time. Like
that sounds frightening, by the way.
And,
it's like surfing at night. Like, no, I don't want to do either of those.
Well, that's the thing is like the first couple times I did it, I was like, oh, this is kind of freaky. But then it's, it's a little bit of an adventure, and then you hear sounds that you don't hear, and then and the cool thing is when you're out in like really like deep wilderness, there's no light pollution. So you can like, to some degree, turn off, especially if there's a moon out, you can turn off your headlamp and just like walk by moonlight, and your eyes adjust, and it's, anyway, it's kind of magical in that way.
Yeah. I remember in Cuyamaca for 6th grade camp, we were out and it was like that. It was perfectly black, no light pollution, moon out, and we did a night hike, and it was also like 20 kids, so maybe a little less scary, but it was a blast. It was gorgeous.
Yeah. So that's where I was coming from when I was thinking like, cool. I can hike at night. This is great. It's fine.
Was the moon out this night?
No, it was actually pretty dark. So I had my headlamp
Yeah.
and I was hiking. And so at the pass, you know, you're up above tree lines. So it's really just rocks everywhere, like just huge boulders. And I, you know, I like there, it was interesting because when I was at the pass with the guys and we all say goodbye, you know, I felt like, oh, cool. I'm at a point where I can do this now. And so I started feeling like pretty positive and, like I had some momentum, you know what I mean? And so I started hiking downhill, and obviously that's like 10 times easier than hiking uphill,
Especially with a
which is what I
backpack.
was just doing, you know?
Yeah.
And as I started going down the first like mile and a half, I felt like about the same. And then as I started going down lower elevation, I started feeling better and started feeling good. I was like, you know, stopping and doing videos and, you know, kind of doing a video of what the trail looked like with just my headlamp and, you know, kind of just having a little bit of fun at that point.
Yeah.
And so let's see. So the first lake when you come down from the pass is Heart Lake. And I saw that one because it was still light enough. And right around there, I'm like, cool. Oh, and the other thing that I forgot is that the guys made me promise, hey, so don't hike all the way back down to your car. Just go to Flower Lake, that place that we were gonna, or that we camped at the first time, right? And I was like, yeah, sure, guys, definitely. I'm not going all the way back down to my car. And that was totally the plan. I'm going back down.
I'm not making camp tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing is you have to take all your stuff out, set up your tent, like, and then I'm sitting there camping by myself in the middle of nowhere, like, I don't know.
Not the best.
A few more miles, get out of
Between
here.
the two, you know, just a few more miles. Yeah. And so, what ended up happening is I got to Flower Lake. I saw the turnoff. I'm like, man, I'm feeling good. I'm like barely even breaking a sweat at this point now. And I've only got, I think like another 3.5 miles or whatever it is, to get down to the car. I'm just going to keep going. And so you go a little bit past that and then you kind of hit some switchbacks down below there. And I'm just kind of like, I'm hiking with my trekking poles and kind of just like, cruising. And then I hear this sound, just the slightest little sound back behind me to the left. And I look back and it's this full size mountain lion, like looking right at me, just crouched like it's about ready to pounce. And it's only maybe 15 feet away from me.
Jeez.
It's definitely coming up on you, is creeping.
Yeah. And I have had very few oh shit moments like that in my life. But that was definitely one of them.
So you hear it, your light, you turn around, it's just right in your light, and it's stopped
so
at this point?
my headlamp kind of caught its eyes, and then I could see the whole thing. And then like it's so weird, but like suddenly just all these quick thoughts just hit me. Like it's got the higher ground. This is a steep grade. If it jumps on you, you're just gonna tumble backwards on a bunch of rocks. Like you're toast. What are you gonna do? Don't back down. You know, you're not supposed to, like, you're supposed to be big. You're supposed to, you know, so like all these thoughts are just like super, super fast. Yeah. And I put my trekking poles up immediately in the air and I just start yelling at it, like every curse word that I can think of. Don't you think about it, you mother, no, you know, I'm just like yelling at it, and it stops. But like it had been like
creeping a little,
like
bit.
It was getting ready to pounce on my back, you know, and then it stopped, and it kind of like seemed like it was trying to think about what it was going to do next. Like, oh, you're not what I thought, a little bit, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's right. I'm not. I'm not food. You know. And so just kept on yelling at it, and kind of like I almost, and I realized like, oh, this is working, you know, and kind of got like a little bit aggressive towards it. I'm like, yeah, you want, you know. And so it actually kind of thought about it for what felt like an eternity, was probably like 3 or 4 seconds, but and then it kind of just like very just nonchalantly like just turns to the left and hikes or kind of starts walking to the left behind some trees and some boulders and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, that was so close. I can't believe it didn't actually jump on my back, you know? And so I'm like, whew, geez, that was a close one.
That's wild.
Do you have any sort of weapons out there? You got your poles.
No,
Do you have a
okay.
knife? Do you have a
So that's-
bear spray? I don't even know if it would help, but
So that's the other thing. So I started doing the whole, like trying to go more towards ultralight. I mean, definitely not there, but like one of the things that I did cut out was I had a big knife that I always carried, like basically on my waist strap that would be right there. And I like remember like, oh, it's not there.
The scale said no.
So I have these like stupid carbon fiber like trekking poles, and that's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was not smart. So the things that I learned on this night were obviously don't hike alone at night. Always bring some sort of weapon, and then always hike with other people if you can, you know.
Yeah.
But so that's not where the story ends. So
So did you hear this back to when you first heard it? Did you hear it step on something, or did you actually hear it?
it was just like, I don't know if it was startled, like not expecting me or what, but there was just a little, it was like, like
okay.
that, like so light and small. And it might not have even been a sound. Like I might have just felt its presence. I don't even,
because if you wouldn't have turned around, it was probably pouncing.
yeah. And it was coming at me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And crouched like it was ready.
picture
Yeah.
those little guys like creeping.
Yeah.
Not little guys.
No.
Yeah. And that one was a big one. Yeah. And it was a full, like big one. Yeah.
Crazy.
And so then I'm kind of on a straightaway of a switchback, and I'm hiking and I'm obviously trying to keep an eye on where it was as I hike down, and I hike maybe 20 or 30 feet down past the trees and the boulder that it was at, or that went back behind. And I come around and I see the same mountain lion, and then I see eyes. And it's like 5 mountain lions. And
It caught its friends.
yeah. And
It's like,
so
dude, free food down here.
yeah, so there was like the biggest one was up in front, and then there was another one kind of back, and then 2 of them were really close to each other, and then another one over to the side. And I just went like my
Numb.
whole body just cold sweat like immediately, and I was like, this is how I die, you know. It's over.
Yeah.
Like I don't get to say goodbye to anybody.
Oh my God.
They're just gonna grab me and drag me off, and I'm gonna be mountain lion dinner, you know. And
Wild.
so yeah, so that's when like the first time when I saw it, like I was definitely like, oh shit, this is a serious moment, and like I need to be smart about this.
Yeah.
But then when I hit the other ones, I was like, there's no getting out of this.
No.
Like I'm done.
How close are they? Are they're elevated a little bit?
Yeah,
above
so
you,
they're
right?
up on the rocks up there, up above the trail there, and just looking down at me. And so then I did the same thing, but then it was like, and I'm like, you know, full body, like hands and shaking, just like, you know, trying to do the same thing, sound angry, sound like seem big, like, and luckily, like I had my big pack up behind me with my sleeping pad up on top, and
You needed a moose.
yeah, I needed a moose at that time. Yeah. But yeah, so then I did the same thing, and I was just yelling at him, and essentially like I remember like starting to say, please just don't eat me, you know, and just saying things like that. And they didn't attack me, you know.
listened.
And they kind of just hung out, and I just started I was just telling myself, don't run. But I wanted to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You know? And so I started just backing down the trail, and the 2 that were kind of up in front that were more close to each other, they kind of started just trotting along with me as I was going down, and I'm just backing them. I'm like, they're not going to leave me alone. They're going to just wait until they have the opportunity. And I'm so toast. And same thing, like I said before, where like all these thoughts are just running through your mind. And I'm like, how many miles away am I from anybody? I'm at least 3 miles away from anybody. It's the middle of the night. Everybody's sleeping. If I'm screaming, they might hear me, but they'll have no idea where to go,
you are,
you know? And like, so anyway, I just started to realize like, I'm just like so totally on my own on this. And if I don't get myself out of it, nobody else is going to do it, you know? And just like, you know, you start getting to that point where like, please just let me live. Just let me live. Just let me live, you know? And, you know, essentially praying.
Did you make it through?
Apparently, yeah. I'm all here. So what I did is next was I kind of like backed down that whole stretch of that straight away for the switchback, and you get to the end of a switchback and it basically drops down to another. It's like a Z shape, right? And so what happened is I got to the end and it dropped down, and so there was like a boulder right on that corner, on the inside corner, that I was able to, I took and I dropped down behind that, facing up to them, and I put my pack in front of me. And I thought, well, what do they want? You know, they want to eat me, you know, they want food. Oh, I had some extra days. I have food in my pack.
Yeah.
So I put my pack on the rock and I open it up. And I just start grabbing like, you know, beef jerky. I grabbed like a Mountain House, and I feel kind of bad because I essentially littered, but like I was like, I'm just trying to live here.
Yeah.
And so I just started, I hucked a couple of like Cliff Bars up in their direction. The beef jerky, I figured the beef jerky would be like nice and stinky. So I threw that. I just threw a bunch of food up there, enough for like 5 mountain lions to be
like a piñata up there.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a little smorgasbord for you guys. I hope you enjoy, you know.
This will taste better than me.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you think this smells better than I do. So I threw all that stuff up there, then like really quickly put my pack back on. And at that point they had kind of stopped. I was like a little bit further away from them and I couldn't really see them that much. But I could still see the reflections of their eyes. And I was like, they're watching me still, you know? And so then I started just really slowly going down that next straightaway of the switchback and just looking up, and, you know, I'd try to memorize, you know, 10 feet of the trail and then be looking up the rest of the time as I'm hiking that 10 feet of the trail, you know? And luckily they didn't come down any further at that point. And so I got down to the end of that switchback going like really slow and cautiously. And then I got about halfway down the next switchback and I looked up and I hadn't seen them. It was probably like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I still hadn't seen them. And then that's when I was like, okay, I think I'm like in the clear to get out of here. So I just started like full speed sprinting. I'm like just running with my trekking poles out like this and just like full speed, you know? And there were a couple of times I like, you know, almost twisted an ankle, rolled on a rock, and luckily caught myself with the poles and didn't end up injuring myself. But then I ran probably another 2.5 miles or something like that, straight without stopping.
Adrenaline.
And then I started to get close enough to see the reflectors from the cars in the parking lot, like reflecting from my light. And I was like, I cannot believe that I actually am still alive right now. What's happening?
How'd you feel?
And then they were in the parking lot waiting for you.
Yeah,
I know, right?
You just honked your horn and then they'd run off. But.
Yeah, but then that's when like it was crazy, because then there was like this crash from the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And like I started to have like that sense of relief, but still not feeling like I was out of it, you know, but still. And then I remember having to be like, because I was getting tired out from running with a pack, and also having been sick, and, you know, probably all the crazy, you know, adrenaline and whatever.
Emotions,
else.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Anyway,
everything running through you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to kind of like rally myself like near the end, like, oh, you're almost there. It's only maybe a mile left to go or whatever. And and had to like really kind of tell myself, just keep running, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I ran all the way back down, got to the parking lot, and just kept running straight to my car and opened it up, threw my pack in, closed the door, and just like, oh my God, I'm
Safety
alive.
of your car. It's gonna be the best time you ever got in your car.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah,
Dude,
that's it.
That's rad.
I gave you guys
Did you sleep?
probably the longer version.
I
No,
love
I like the
So
longer
good.
version because I've heard the shorter version, but just kind of the whole build up. I mean, the bear was even another. You're like, oh, that's a little bit scary, but then okay, let's build up to this part.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I mean, I've run into moose, I've run into other bears. I don't think I had ever seen a mountain lion in person
Or
before.
6.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah.
not
Well,
6.
I think it was 5.
5. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was 5. And the thing is so since then, I mean, I obviously sent the guys a message like, dude,
Careful on your way down.
don't hike. And that was the other cool thing is like up near the pass, I was able to send Maddie a message and just say, hey, I'm hiking back down. And I just like got a little like window of service.
Yeah.
And so I knew that they were going to be hiking down that same area and they'd probably hit some service too. So I sent them a text saying, hey, when you're hiking back down, just be really, really careful because I ran into 5 freaking mountain lions.
There's some mountain lions down there, guys.
Yeah.
So I sent them
Can
a
you
message.
pick up my trash?
Yeah. You see a Cliff Bar, I'm hungry.
Yeah. And then, and then as soon as I had service, I called my wife and told her the whole thing. And she was like, what? That was insane. And,
Has she
everything
let
like
you
that.
go out back since then?
Yeah. Actually, she went with the kids. We went up and went to a very similar area just this last summer and took the kids. I'll tell you guys that hike. It's a really good one for kids for like their first backpacking trip.
That's cool.
Really good.
That's right.
But yeah, so the next summer though, I had to like really, I went up with Mark and another friend, Jake. We went on another trip and I had to like really get over my fears and kind of like internally, like there were a couple of times on the first day when we hiked up and like we're hiking up and I just go off to go to the bathroom. And then there would just be this moment where I'd realize I was away from the guys and, oh, I'm out here by myself. And just this moment of panic. And like, look, it's going to just internally telling myself it's going to be okay. That's probably like statistically the likeliness of that happening again is like so low, So I had to like tell myself that on that next trip that I did,
Did you bring your weapon on that one?
Actually, I haven't been. No, I still haven't.
That's the first thing I would be bringing.
No,
dude.
I did. No,
Right,
on
I
the
don't
one
care
with the
the weight,
kids, I
dude.
brought the knife.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I did bring the knife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enough.
Honestly, in that situation, I doubt a knife. I mean,
I feel like
it would
if
probably
it's attacking you, give it a couple good stabs. It's
think
going to
it would?
realize
It'd be
you're
like,
not.
this isn't good, I should
you're
probably
not
leave.
prey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd just be in that moment trying to get that, like, there's a lot going on. You could easily just drop. I don't know.
But
I guess it's better
like,
to have the knife.
I was legit like, did this actually happen? Was I hallucinating? Was it like me being sick? So I Googled it and I looked at it. It's a thing that is a very recent thing that people have seen thanks to like trail cameras and Ring doorbells and stuff like that. If you look it up just look for Google like group of mountain lions together on
So
YouTube
I was going to say, I
or
didn't know
whatever.
that was a thing.
Yeah.
I thought they were kind of solo.
I found like just a handful of different videos where they like a group of 5 full-size mountain lions just cruising through a neighborhood like together.
It's wild.
Yeah. And then so it was previously thought that mountain lions were very solitary animals and they are for the most part they are pretty solitary animals, but apparently it's like a more recent thing that they've discovered that mountain lions sometimes like will work together to hunt or will share kills with each other or cruise around a neighborhood
That's
as
wild.
a group. Yeah. So I found out firsthand, like I had no idea that they did that.
I didn't either. One's scary enough.
Yeah.
You're the first study on it, so they're like, no, this guy didn't. They roll in groups now.
Yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
that's the craziest craziest thing I've had happen when I was backpacking.
Pretty crazy.
I'm in cold sweats thinking about it. That was one of the things when we used to go camping at Cuyamaca or any of these places. I know it's Cuyamaca. That's what we call it, Cuyamaca. But it was, just mountain lion. I never have seen one, but it was just like in the back of our head as kids. I just remember like, parents, kids, keep the kids close because they'll go up to the little ones. I don't know if that's ever happened, but that's just kind of like, I think it's frightening. It's like, like I said, like a shark in the ocean or something.
Yeah, statistically, like so unlikely to even see one.
Yeah.
So in like some ways, I feel lucky that I got to see that. But then on the other hand,
you made it out.
I will be very happy to never have to experience.
Yeah, I mean, just even going back out there too, the PTSD of like you said, just going off the trail a little bit, like
or like I still have to, like when we took the kids up last year. It's like a little trail. It's, I think, a 4-mile loop, like out and back, 5 miles, I think, to the furthest lake. It's called the Little Lakes Trail up there. That's just north of where Kearsarge is. But it's so cool because you start at, I think, 11,000 feet where you park your car.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then you barely have any, like, it's not very much elevation gain. So the kids are, of course, complaining about every single thing they can come up with anyway. But they don't have that, like, super hard hike to get into, and it's just beautiful, amazing views the whole way. And I just remember saying to myself, wow, I didn't even know that there were hikes like this where you can get this kind of benefit that you would normally have to really, really hump into,
put a lot of work into,
to hike into to get those views, just that easily. So it's really cool.
Well, there you go. That's the story we've been waiting for. We've been teasing on the last like 3 or 4 podcasts. You're like, oh, Shane was going to come on, but he's got a cold and this and that. But
it's worth waiting for.
Dude, that's a wild story. Thanks for popping on here and sharing it.
Yeah,
and
of course.
If you guys need, a few things, but if you need photography, go to shanefellows.com, hook him up there. And what else do we got? Anything else you want to throw out there?
Not that I can think of.
So weddings, family, maternity.
What's that?
Wedding, like for photography, that's the main.
I mostly do family portraits.
Family
now.
portraits. Okay, cool. Keep your weekends.
Yeah.
Exactly. Stay away from the weddings.
I know.
But all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Shane. Thanks for being on. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having
me. We'll catch you guys all on the next episode of Living in San Diego. Adios.